Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Studio Series number 61, Voyager class Sentinel Prime. Now if you're not familiar with the character at all, you can see here he was in Transformers Dark of the Moon, which was the third movie. He was voiced by the late great Leonard Nimoy. Spoilers, he started out as a good guy, then later on, not so much. You can see a cool picture of Sentinel Prime here on the side. Really cool picture of the robot mode here on this side. Not too much going on the top or bottom. And on the back you can see the robot mode and the vehicle mode. I believe he's a fire truck. Yeah, firefighting technology. So there you go. He's a fire truck. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, so I really don't remember much about it. I remember liking the design of the character, though. I remember having Sentinel Prime from the original Dark of the Moon line back in the day. So when I heard they were doing this, I feel like, oh cool, they're going to update it, kind of refine it a little bit, so this one should be pretty good. But otherwise, packaging pretty standard, not too much going on there. I'm going to go ahead, get him out of the box, and we'll take a closer look. Here is Vector Prime in the little diorama scene that they give you. Looks pretty good. It's just kind of a ruined cityscape, which is very common for the third movie. They spent a lot of time in the kind of ruined cityscape, but it's a pretty cool little backdrop. I like it. I think they did a pretty good job, and he fits pretty good in the space there. So, nice inclusion. So here is Sentinel Prime out of the packaging. And I would say for the most part, aesthetically, he looks pretty cool. He's got these like Cell wings on the back. That's the first thing I think of when I see them. Cell from Dragon Ball Z. But overall, I like the detailing. I think the red paint looks really nice and sharp. I like the kind of, chest thing he's got going on here with the windows from the alt mode, which, spoiler alert, aren't actually the windows from the alt mode. They're just a panel that gets covered to look like that. He's got this, double-bladed weapon here, which I have to admit is a little bit more difficult to get into his fist than I would have expected. This one's really tight, but it's just two individual pieces, and then they peg together like that. And you can almost kind of see how this one is a little thinner than this one. I guess it's because the peg had to fit into this one, so it had to be a little bit wider around. But yeah, this one's a little difficult to get into the fist, I have to be honest. But otherwise, you could do two little sworded weapons if you'd rather. You could do something like that. It's just really snug, but you get the idea. Or you can connect them and do the double-bladed like that. I'm going to take them off for now, because I don't want to stretch out any fists or anything. We'll put them off to the side. Whoops, as I knock the camera around. Perfect. So, getting in close, I think the head sculpt is pretty cool. You can see how he's got kind of like the beard going on, which I think is kind of neat. He's got the beady blue eyes. Let me go ahead and tilt this up a little bit more. So I think they did a really good job with the head sculpt. I really like that. And it almost kind of, I don't want to say looks like Leonard Nimoy, but I almost feel like, I mean, I guess it does a little bit, but you kind of get the persona coming through from the head sculpt. Like, I can picture Leonard Nimoy's voice coming from this character, if that makes sense. So, really cool design, excellent casting, of course. As far as the figure goes, for the most part, I would say it's good. The main problem I have is this whole torso thing. It just comes apart, at the drop of a hat. Like, it doesn't take much for this. And I think it's because it doesn't really peg in. It relies on friction. So if you can see in here, there's these two tabs right there and there. They're like long tabs. They don't actually peg in. What they do is they kind of rely on friction to kind of go on either side of this. And so it just kind of drops in there, and then kind of you push it in to kind of friction it on there. But as you can see, it never really 100% connects, and when you move the figure around at all, it gives them an unintentional ab crunch, which who knows, maybe that's a good thing. But that's my biggest complaint with this figure, at least the robot mode. He's definitely a bit of a shell former when it comes to the vehicle mode. We'll get there, and lining up some of those panels is a nightmare. At least for me it was. But we'll see how it goes. He's also got these flaps on the side of his hips that I really don't know what these are for. I guess they're maybe just to simulate skirts on the side there. I don't know. But yeah, other than that, other than the weird waist thing, and you can get it to kind of stay together, and it's not like it's a a problem in robot mode. He's not going to fall apart on you, because gravity will do its job. It's just that, like, it kind of just like comes apart and it's awkward and weird. But then, like, you get it there and it'll stay. It's not like it's going to, fall over or anything like that. It's just weird. And speaking of falling over, his heels are not the best. They look like they should be very substantial, but because he's kind of back heavy, that if he starts to go like even a little bit, okay, now he's going to prove me wrong. But depending on what pose you have him in, like I have him in a little bit better pose right now, and you can play with the toes a little bit to help you out. But earlier I had him in where he would, as soon as he'd hit the back of his toes, he was going backwards. But now he seems to be fine, so he just wanted to make me look foolish on camera. That's fine, as long as the problem's fixed. That's where I want to be at. But yeah, it's just weird. I think it's all about the pose that you get him in. Because I think earlier I had him in more of a like crouching pose. And like as soon as he would hit back, you can kind of see there how he's rocking. And then like he wanted to go back. So it's all about just finding the right balance of weight. And then his little wings always move around on me. But yeah, overall, like I said, aesthetically, I think he looks good. I think they did a nice job with the red paint. The gray, it's all very nice balance. The head sculpt looks great, very nicely detailed. As far as articulation goes, you have I think it's a ball joint. You have some up and down, side to side there in the head, swivel in the shoulder. You have a little bit of movement in the shoulder pads, but it's really for the transformation. So you have a swivel here for the shoulder. You have up and down here. You have like a bicep swivel right above the elbow joint, which is a little over 90 degrees. You can see you can go back a little bit more. Then you do have a wrist swivel. Because of the waist, I don't think you have... Well, you might have... I think there is a swivel. No, I'm going to go ahead and say no waist swivel. I feel like there is one there, but it's for the transformation. Like you can see there's a swivel right there, but because when the wheels are up there as part of the chest, you can't get that waist swivel. Like you can kind of see it there a little bit. Out to the side in the hip, front, you can go a little back, but he's got a decent amount of kibble back here, which is all coming unpegged. Yeah, I don't like the waist and the chest. You do have a thigh swivel right above the knee, which you can see full 90-degree back, even a little bit forward. And then really the rest of the leg is a solid piece, so no articulation there. But I do think he's got enough articulation, and like I said, when he holds together, I think it looks good. Now how this all works, you can see you've got this piece, which is going to become the windscreen in the vehicle mode. That's supposed to peg in up here. So you have this tab, and you can kind of see right there. That's supposed to peg in there, and then this tab is going to peg in right there. So then when this comes down, and that for the most part holds that all together pretty well. It's just that this is completely independent of that. So, and there's not really, because of all this, there's not a great place to kind of grip this to peg this in. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I'm futzing with it too much. Maybe, you know, just get it set up and leave it. Because just here, like this, it's fine. I think the robot mode looks good. And he's got a nice bit of articulation. Paint apps look good. Head sculpt's good. I just really don't like how that waist is done. I would like a nice, firm, peg, solid, nice, solid robot mode. But unfortunately, that is not so much the case for this guy. But let's go ahead. We'll start getting into the transformation here. Alright, so for the most part, the transformation's not terrible until the end when you have to start lining up a ton of panels, and then it becomes kind of a mess. So you're going to come around to the back of the feet where the heels are, and you're going to unpeg these from the side. You can see that there was a tab slot right there and a tab. So you just unpeg these. Come on, sometimes this one sticks. I don't really know why. And then you're going to kind of bring these down. You're going to rotate this. You can see that there's a ball joint on the inside. At least you should be able to see. Right there, there's a ball joint. So you're going to kind of bring that around and line that up. And I'll be honest, these ball joints are rather stiff. So if you want to kind of like work these around a little bit, because I feel like it doesn't necessarily always want the panels to line up because the ball joint's trying to hold it in a different position. So then you're going to flip these out like that. And you're going to see how that all lines up. Then you're going to do something kind of neat where the entire back half of the leg is going to unpeg like this, and then you're going to spin around this joint here, like so. And then you're going to have to put this back down. Now basically how this works, you can see there's a tab there, and there is a tab slot right there. You're going to have to bend these down a little bit, and then this is going to, and you got to start watching these panels because they start drifting. You can even just throw that to the side if you want. I don't know if it's supposed to bend that way, but it does. I've really been grappling with this for quite some time, I'll be honest with you. Some of these panels are kind of a pain. So we're going to repeat the process over here where we're going to lift that out, unpeg this, spin this around 180 degrees, and then flip that around, and then drop this down. Make sure you clear everything. Alright, then this has to peg in. Then we're going to peg these together. So these right here are going to peg, and then you peg these together into each other like this. So this is kind of the back of the fire truck. So hopefully that will cooperate for now. Sometimes these do not want to stay pegged together. You'll see what I mean as we go. But for now, hopefully they will cooperate. So the next thing I want to do, I can go ahead and peg this together. These are going to snap together like so. You can kind of lift this up. You can kind of bring this down. And you can kind of fold this away just for now if you want. You're going to come to the torso. You're going to unpeg these and kind of pull them straight out like this. Then you can unpeg this whole section, the whole arm section. Actually, before you do that, you should fold these shoulders down. And you can see that there is a little peg inside, and there's a peg here on the side of the bicep. So just make sure that those all peg in. So straighten that and peg that out. And if you want, you can kind of bring this straight down like that just to align it to the side. So we do that. That goes to the side. Next, you're going to unpeg these chest pieces, and they will go straight out. And then this is kind of weird. You have to like just gently rock this back a little bit. Like so. It's a little pitched forward, and you're going to kind of just rock it back. And then as you do that, you'll be able to rotate the head all the way down so that that's kind of there in the body like that. At this point, you can go ahead and let loose with this piece. You're going to kind of bring this down. Now you want to rotate at that like fake waist I was telling you about that's kind of hidden in the robot mode. So do that 180. Now you're going to rotate this up. And these are going to go straight in line with this. So you're going to bring this up. You can see that there is a host of little tabs, and they're going to tab into various spots along the way. So you're going to lift this up. You know, you have to lift it up a little bit just for the clearances and whatnot. And then peg that all in. And I don't know why this thing comes undone. It's really weird. It's like, it doesn't want to stay tabbed in. Do you see what I mean? I don't know why that is. I don't know why it fights me so hard on this. But you're going to bring this part in. This is also going to... You know what it might be? It might be because of this joint. If you have trouble, always, there's a double joint here that I feel like is responsible for 90% of my problems with this stuff. So you can see how it's staying together a little bit better now. Maybe. And you got to really get this piece here to peg in. There we go. That's a really big piece of it too. I don't know why, but if these two, like that's a really thick connector there, you got to make sure that that hits. So now you can see that there's a spot for the two forearms to peg together. So kind of just straighten that around. And then you can see that there are two pegs here for the fists to peg into, which is nice. So it's just a lot of lining everything up. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but when you get it all, it should stay together fairly solidly. All right, now comes the fun part. You flip this up. So actually let's do this part first. I find it easier if you do this part first. So we stretch, make sure these are out. This is going to come around and flip up. And you kind of have to make sure that this clears, and it's kind of a pain because you have to kind of pull these out as you flip this around, which is a pain, but once you eventually get it in, that will peg in there. Can I get this to just cooperate? What do you say? What do you say? Nope. Alright, I have to unpeg. See, this is what I'm talking about. There's just a lot of panels that you have to line up. And it's really annoying when something like this happens. So you need this to stay out, but then you can't get both of them to stay out. Why not? Just stop, you ridiculous thing. Okay, there we go. So now that is out, and that is out. So those front panels are all lined up, and that is pegged in to the top. Okay, so as you can see now, we just kind of have to put these two pieces together. So how this works, you can see in here that there is a tab slot. I hope you can see it. It's right there. This is obviously casting a long shadow, but right here where my finger is. Inside here is a tab, right there. This, or I should say this has to go into this, but it's kind of a pain because it doesn't stay. What I usually do is I'll bend these at the waist so you can get this up and peg that in where that's supposed to go. Then you should be able to drop this up and have these, but see, there's a tab here, there's a tab here, there's a tab here on both sides. So you have to line up all three of those points. And that's where it gets really annoying. So let's see, peg in, peg in. Wow, this is, I gotta say, this is probably the easiest this has ever happened for me. Now, I don't know if these pieces are supposed to be underneath or not. Typically, I think usually I have them down like this. I just kind of have them hang out the back. But I don't care because that actually went. Now, see how this is coming undone? It doesn't want to stay together for some reason. I don't know. But honestly, these pieces, these actually pegged in fairly easily. That's the easiest time I've ever had doing this. So I don't know, maybe it's a little bit easier if you have this done at first, because at first I was doing this first and then I brought this around. The other thing, you bring these pieces back in, you're going to bend this 90 degrees like that, and then these two tabs here are going to peg in here and here. And for whatever reason, I find that when I go ahead and peg these on, it somehow like really shores up the rest of the vehicle mode. It doesn't make any sense. I don't really know why it works this way, but I notice it works. So if I go ahead and I peg that all in, like so, I come around to the back, that seems to stay together a little better. I don't get it. Oh, you can also flip these things out. These are supposed to be the rear view mirrors. To me, it's a very superfluous little piece. I get the detail, but most of the time these just get in the way, but there you go. He's got rear view mirrors. Now this piece came separately in the box, and you pop it on right here. You just peg it right on there. It's just one of those deals where you clip it on, and then you can extend it out in the fire truck mode here. So you have that. You can lift this up. I think it even spins. Do they make that up? Okay, no, it does not spin, but it does rotate up and down, and then this bends. So really, it's just for the fire truck mode. You have the hose out the front. So honestly, as a fire truck, it's not bad. You can see it rolls fairly decently. You know, it's a nice solid rectangle with wheels, which I guess is what they were going for. Nice detail. You have the red, you have the white, a little bit of silver there, I think looks really nice. You do have that, you know, water arm here. That can, you have a little bit of, it would have been nice if it could have rotated side to side, but it's not that big a deal. When you can get it to peg in correctly and stay together, I think it's great. And like I said, I don't know what I did. I'm so glad I got it on camera, because that was the easiest time I've ever had pegging that together. I fought this thing for a while, and I don't know what it was. I must have had something in the wrong place the last time, because I could not get everything to line up. And I think making sure that that piece is all the way pegged in and like then rotating the legs up from the waist, I think really makes a difference as well. And also really making sure that this connection here is pegged in. It's all about really making sure everything is solid before you try to do the next part. But once you have this thing, I mean, this is a nice solid vehicle mode. Like, I like this. It's definitely more solid in my mind than the robot mode is in terms of staying together. I think it's definitely more solid, but overall, pretty decent little fire truck mode. At the end of the day, I gotta say Sentinel Prime is fine, but not great. He's definitely got a couple things that I like and a couple things that I hate. We'll start with the positive things. Pros. I think the paint applications, the articulation, all very good. The head sculpt, I think, is wonderful. I think they really nailed it. Did a great job with the paint applications on that as well. Overall, the robot mode, I like the aesthetic of it. I do not like what's going on with that waist. I really wish that waist pegged in a lot more securely than it does. I don't know why they went that route. I'm wondering if it was something where they had a more secure peg and then maybe it was too snug and something was breaking, so they had to make it a little bit looser just to keep it solid and, you know, so it didn't break on you. I don't know. That's a pure speculation guess on my point. But they need to do something with that waist because it's not great. The other problem is, while I do like these weapons, making this one, you know, too thick, and I understand why this needs to peg into it, but it's hard for the hands to hold this one. Like, just make the hands a little bit wider then. I don't know why that couldn't have been done. So, a little bit of trouble holding this and the waist. Major drawbacks for robot mode. Vehicle mode, I think, looks great once you get it transformed, but when you have like shell formers like this, when you have so many panels you have to line up all the pegs, they can really be a pain. Now, I got lucky on camera here and it actually went together pretty easily this time, but I've had times before that have been absolute nightmares. So it's kind of just, I guess maybe the more times you do it, it gets a little bit easier. Just making sure you have everything pegged in the way it's supposed to makes it a little bit easier. But you run into this problem with shell formers when you have a lot of panels that need to line up. So once you get it into that fire truck mode, I think it looks good and it stays solid, which I appreciate, because there are other panel formers where even after you're done, it just doesn't hold together. At least he holds together for the most part once you get him transformed. So again, he's fine, but he's not great. Couple things holding him back. If you have other Voyagers that you're planning on getting, you know, and you're on a budget, I would say maybe wait for a sale for this guy. You know, he's not bad. And once you get him transformed like this, you know, if you're just going to display him on a shelf, then he's going to be fine. If you're planning on, you know, playing with it, transforming it back and forth a lot of times, I think it's going to cause some frustrations. So I would definitely maybe wait for a sale or something like that. But aesthetically, he looks pretty good. So if that's what you're going for, then I say buy away. But that's going to do it for the review. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.